Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Strawberry Hill Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Simmons. We are here at the Shop Cigar Lounge. Like I say, every single episode, come and see us if you haven't. And today is a special episode that we got today because we finally made it to 100 episodes. I don't know if Eastside has the clapping thing, woo, yeah. Yeah, we made it. You know how hard it is to run a podcast and get to 100 episodes. I like to thank everybody that tuned in and has watched us and subscribed. I appreciate that. Thank you for Eastside for putting up with me. Thank you for all my guests that came on. I really appreciate it. It has been a journey, and here's to 100 more. But before we get started, make sure you like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Make sure you follow us on all social media platforms at Strawberry Hill Podcast. And for my 100th episode, my guest for today is Mr. Erik Murray.
What's going on?
Yeah.
Appreciate you. That's a big deal, man. 100 episodes.
It's a big deal. I didn't really notice it until a week or two ago because Eastside was like, hey, you got 100 coming up. I was like, damn, it seems like we just started this.
Well, and I knew you were approaching 100 because I watched episode 93, 95. But to be number 100, man, I appreciate it. That's 100. An honor that I get to sit here with you on the 100 show. And I mean, it is a testament to your effort because you've done this in a period of time where you're a small business owner, you're a dad, you got a lot going on in your life, and to get to 100 episodes is pretty epic in this environment, especially, man. So kudos to you.
Well, thank you, man. Thank you. So you decided that you weren't as busy as you wanted to be, and you're like, you know what? Let me run for U.S. Senate.
Yeah,
you're like, let me put more on my plate.
Listen, I make time for things that are important, right? To your point, I don't have time to do everything that I want to do, but I have a great team, number one. And so that team helps me have additional bandwidth beyond what it would appear that I have as one individual. So it's like Jermaine Howard said, we, not me. And so that we
Jermaine,
is strong.
Such a good dude. Shout out to Jermaine.
Yeah, another dot, us dot kids are taking over, but a strong team helps with that. But then you got to make time for things that are important. And the reality is that we have some issues. We'll probably talk about some of them on this podcast, but people can't afford anything. And for our leaders to not be focused on solving problems, I think that's what, I try to communicate to people is that in my day job, in my home life, in my personal, in my just being, I am a problem solver. I like taking challenges head on. And so, no, did I wake up and say, boy, I really want to be a politician. I really want to run for the U.S. Senate. No, I see problems in our local, state, and federal government. And at the federal level, you have access to resources that can help communities like ours and like many others across this county and across this country that are left behind. And so, a lot of people say, well, why didn't you start with running for city council or running for state office? I love, and we were active in making sure that we had a working local government here in Wyandotte County. All politics are local. So it was very important that the people stepped up. The people voted. We had our biggest voter turnout in years at this last election. So it was good to see. And it's a shout out to folks like Jermaine Howard, young people who love this county, who are from here, are stepping into those seats and running for office. So I feel good about having and getting to a more functional local government, having people in local government who we can work with, who have a love for this community. But let's face it, man, the challenges that we face in Wyandotte County, in Sedgwick County, in Shawnee County, in Leavenworth County, you look at 102 or 3 of the 105 counties in Kansas, and all of them are facing problems that local government just can't solve alone, right? What does everybody hate? Property taxes. We all hate property taxes. Are we going to put more property taxes on folks to solve these problems? No, you cannot do that. People can't afford anything, including their property taxes. At some point, the federal government is going to have to step up to improve the infrastructure. We got 5 bridges closed.
Yeah, it was wild.
Right?
Yeah.
So in the unified government, there's no room in the budget for the unified government to do that.
Yeah.
And so as our next U.S. Senator, as somebody who loves this community deeply, as someone who loves communities like ours, right? This is not unique to Wyandotte County. the same things are occurring in rural areas that are occurring in our urban areas. People just can't afford anything. The cost of running a small business. I want to ask you about that, right? Like, what if tariffs meant you import into your small business?
Oh, yeah.
What has that done to your costs, right?
Yeah.
So when I look at it, we have food deserts here, just like you have food deserts in rural areas. Fortunately, with KU Med, we've got good hospital here. But in a lot of places in this state, hospitals are closing. So people can't afford healthcare. People can't afford, access to just everyday essentials, whether that's affording your rent, affording your mortgage, affording your property taxes. You're blessed enough to pay all of those things. Then you got to afford your property insurance, your car insurance. Car insurance has gone through the roof. I mean, every element of our economy has just gotten so unaffordable, and I just didn't see anybody solving it, man. So I appreciate the question because, excuse me, I'm also losing my voice. I've been campaigning. I've been working hard, but
at it.
You know that I have major problems that I am working to solve locally through my real estate development company. And we have some exciting solutions that we are working through to use federal policy and to use the purse. So I know how to do the things that the U.S. Senate needs to be doing for communities like ours. But that's really why I realized I had to run, Mike, because, I'm working on Indian Springs. I'm working on the airport project. And as we are working as hard as we ever can, you can relate to this. You're a small business owner, so you got to make the numbers work. You're a dad, so you got to make the numbers work. I'm a small business owner and a dad, and I did not see our leaders stepping up with solutions for my family, for your business, for my community. And I said, you know what? I'll go do it, right? First, you hope. You know how it works. You're like, oh, man, I hope our politicians will do better. And then you're like, all right, I'll donate. And then you're like, nothing. And then finally, you're just like, I will do it myself. Yeah. So that's where I'm at, man. I'm not a politician. I'm not a whatever. I'm just a problem-solving businessman who cares about Wyandotte County, who knows that the solutions are out there and that we can do better, for everybody in this country. I believe we can build an economy that works for everybody.
So as you running for U.S. Senate, what district, what area would you cover?
I love that question because that's the other thing I'm realizing. We've really got to, just kind of educate the public on the different layers and levels of government. Because I spent a lot of time this week. We had all the Kwanzaa celebrations, and so I was in the community, and folks said, "Hey, are you running for state senate? Are you running against David Haley?" I said, "Absolutely not. David Haley is a state senator. I am running for the United States Senate, right?" And so I would be in a statewide election, so the entire state of Kansas can vote in this election. There are 2 United States senators. One of them, I don't come on here to cast dispersions, so I'm going to be real measured in what I'm about to say. But the reality is, even though their policies are pretty similar, one of the U.S. senators is very well liked, and that's Jerry Moran. Jerry Moran's been in our community. He's been an advocate. I think that there's a lot of folks who like Jerry. I'm not running against Jerry. So that's the other thing. People say, oh, are you running against Jerry? No, Jerry has been in that seat a long time. Jerry is far more popular than the guy that I'm running against. I'm running against a guy named Roger Marshall for the United States Senate. And Roger has walked out of his own town halls, right? And so even his own constituents, as I travel this great state, have said, Erik, we're excited for your candidacy because we've never seen that other guy. He's never come here and talked to us about solving our problems. And so put all the partisan stuff aside, put all the fighting aside. The reality is we just need people that are willing to solve problems. So going back to answer your question, running for the United States Senate, there are only 100 of those seats around the entire country.
Yeah, there's 2
50 states, 2 for each state. Yeah. All of Kansas will vote in this election. So this is a statewide election. I will be in every one of the 105 counties. And I'm excited, man. You know me. I like to get out and meet folks. And even folks I don't agree with on everything, like we can find common ground and we can connect and we can communicate. And I think that by bridging those gaps, and we've lived it, right? Even here in Wyandotte County, we're the second most diverse county in the country. So we just know how to relate to everyone. And I think that's going to be a huge benefit. But we will also be fundraising from all over the country because as a United States Senator, and I've learned that, even though I'm not a politician, I've had experience in national politics. I don't raise money or get involved in politics for parties. I don't do it a lot of times even for specific causes. I want leaders that I know are people who care. Mm-hmm. And so the national politics that I've been involved in has been with folks that I know have a good heart, have a good head on their shoulders, and are working for the interests of the majority of American people, right? We're not going to agree on everything, but I tell you what, 70 or 80% of the things, 70 or 80% of us agree on. Like, we should get back to focusing on that, not, tearing each other apart over this fringe issue or that fringe issue. There are some basic everyday things that I think that we can solve. So yes, I'll be running statewide. I'll be raising money from all over the country, and that's been exciting. We just had a big fundraising deadline for a first-time candidate, without a fundraising network. I think people are going to be impressed. Good. They're going to say, oh, this kid from the dot is not playing. Yeah. We went out and we worked every corner of the state. We worked every corner of this country. I'm so proud. Hundreds of donations from $1 to $5 from folks all over in small towns, in communities that just said, you seem like somebody that cares, that has ideas and solutions. And so we're getting small dollar donations from every, corner of the state. We're raising money. We're getting large dollar donations from folks in my business network who know, hey, Erik, you're a good person who knows how to solve problems. And the coolest thing, again, because we'll talk about it, I hope, I just hate, man, all the chaos and all the fighting. That's bad. It's bad for community. It's bad for business. Fighting is just bad. At some point, we've got to get back to uniting around a common goal, get back to loving each other, get back to taking care of our neighbor, just core values that I think most of us share. And that's been the exciting part, man, is people say, Erik, we see that in you. Doesn't matter if I'm a Republican or a Democrat or a this or a that. We just see those qualities in you. And that's what I'm excited about, man. That's the leader I want to be, and that's whether I'm solving problems at Indian Springs and Wyandotte County, I'm creating jobs at the downtown airport in Jackson County, or I'm in Labette County talking to small business owners just like this. He said, man, the rent sucks, so I bought the building. Then I bought the building, so now my property taxes suck. And then, I'm importing some of my goods, so the tariffs are hitting me. That sucks. I mean, we have got to solve the crisis of the fact that things are just so unaffordable and it is crushing the American dream. And I think that as somebody who was a beneficiary 25 years of the kind of the social contract that was made, you go to school, you work hard, you graduate from college or you graduate from trade school, you get a good job, you buy a house, you have a 2-car garage, you take your kids out, you save up money, you buy a boat. Those were all things that we could do 25, 30 years ago. Those are things that our parents' generation did very well. And I have a 23-year-old daughter and a 19-year-old daughter, and they look at me and they say, Dad, I don't know when I'll be able to afford to buy a house. I don't know when I'm like, yo, you got to get off my couch, right? So the reality is, we need to solve these kinds of problems, and I'm here for it, man. So that's why I'm honored to be on episode 100.
Yeah, there you go.
Let me kick it back over to you,
no,
man.
You're good,
I'll
man.
go all day. So.
No, I don't mind at all.
Yeah.
But you mentioned the Indian Springs thing, and that's one of the things I wanted to talk about. So tell me a little bit about that development, because I know that you guys were trying to get something there, like your business development group or whatever, or your group. We're trying to build something there at the Indian Springs Mall. And
we're going to.
And then, things aren't going as planned. So just act like I don't know anything and tell me and let the audience know of like what's going on and why things aren't moving, and maybe if things are moving, what's going to happen. So Yeah,
well, I think the first thing I'll say, we are going to do that. Okay. As someone who's from here, who's committed to do it, one of the challenges in our community is trust and the reality that folks have made commitments before and they gave up. It got hard. They gave up. The deal didn't work. The numbers didn't work, and folks walked away. You know this. I'm not the first person to propose something at Indian Springs or downtown or Midtown or any of these sites. But at Indian Springs, I will be the last, okay?
Yeah.
We have made a commitment to our community to get something done there. And if the unified government does not want to step up and help with that, then they're going to have to drag me off that site kicking and screaming, right? Mm-hmm. Unlike folks from out of town who come into the community and propose a deal, and then when it doesn't work and they don't get the incentives they want, they just kind of pack up and go home. This is home. You know that. I know that. This is home. And that site's been vacant for 20 years. So I always start by correcting the narrative. People say, Erik, you're trying. Erik, no, we are going, Mike, you included, everyone in Wyandotte County included, we are going to do a thing, okay? So then you got to debate, well, what is that thing? The mall site is 90 acres in total. People who grew up here remember when the doctor's offices on the backside of Orville started sinking. So there are some serious geotechnical problems with that site. Mm-hmm. So really, of the 90 acres, 60 acres is usable. 30 acres is largely undevelopable. We have a great idea for that. We'll come back to it later. But going back to earlier in the conversation, we put our problem-solving hat on. What does our community need? We need housing. We need high-quality housing. Once you have high-quality housing, you can attract people from all walks of life, right? There are folks that we grew up with that no longer live in Wyandotte County, that love Wyandotte County, but no longer live here because the kind of housing they wanted was in Johnson County or another county. Mm-hmm. Guess what? We can build that here. And you can move back to Wyandotte County, this place that you love. So first thing it starts with is housing. We've proposed 2,000 units of new housing. It's a lot, and I get a lot of grief for people saying like, Erik, you proposed a $900 million project. Why didn't you start with 90 million? Right? Great point. We can talk more about that in a little bit. I think in order to get the critical mass to make a project like that size successful, we've really got to do about a $300 million first phase in order to get all of the ingredients that you need for a successful community. Here's why. If I only build housing at that site, where's the grocery store? Where's the local retail shop? Where is the gathering spot? Where's the third place like you've created here? So we also need to build up that retail base because people want to live in environments where they can walk down. That's why Strawberry Hill is so dope, because you got housing, you got small businesses, you can walk between them, you've got community. Yeah. So you need to recreate a sense of place. And right now, that's just a vacant parking lot. I do think it has two very important assets. It has a transit station and it has a police station. And so we are starting, I want to remind folks, we are starting from step 3. It is exciting to me that those assets are there because remember what I said, as a problem solver, I want to make sure that people can afford a good quality of life. Mm-hmm. And if you can't afford a car, you need a way to get around. So the fact that there's a transit station there is great. When we talk about quality of life, I've got plenty of friends, yourself included, police officers or former police officers in law enforcement. We need to have law and order and an order where we know that we are going to be safe and we are going to, have resources available to us in our community. So the fact that we're starting with those two things, I think is great. So now what's next? We focus on housing, 2,000 units total. The first phase has about 600 units of housing. Again, that's a lot, but I got to get to critical mass because nobody wants to be out there alone. And you as a small business owner, if I had 20 units, you're gonna be like, Erik, I can't support a business with 20 units. So we'll deliver the first 600 units of housing. It is a mixed use project. So floors 2 through 5 will all be very high quality housing. The reference project is what exists in the River Market. So there's a project called Second in Delaware. You ask me, like, how do I have time to do this? I will not be leading every decision in that tree because my partner is Jonathan Arnold from Arnold Development Group, who built the Second in Delaware loft. So these are luxury, high quality lofts, but he realized that by building them to a higher quality standard, not only do the residents love them more, but their utility bills are less and their insurance costs are less. So this is affordable by design or sustainable by design housing that we're spending a lot of money to build a high quality product. Why? Because as a kid from Wyandotte County, I think that we deserve nice shit too. Let's be real. But I also don't think that we can build something that people can't afford or sustain. So the way that we do that is different. We build it to such a quality that everything else in your life becomes easier. You can walk right downstairs to a grocery store that we're working to recruit. Childcare. We are partnering with a local childcare operator that provides 24/6 childcare. We've got a lot of great workers in our community who work for KU Med, need a night shift, work for General Motors, need a night shift. 24/6 childcare is great. So again, I get a little long-winded because I'm passionate about this stuff. Let me get back to your answer. We are building a walkable, livable, and affordable community that has all of the ingredients that you need in order to enjoy a day-to-day life. And so we start with transit and policing. We have 600 units of housing in the first phase. We have 60,000 square feet of retail space in the first phase. We are really excited about workforce development. We like uplifting, especially folks in the communities and neighborhoods that we are working in. So we partnered with Keystone Innovation District. I don't know if you're familiar with them in the East Crossroads, but they launched 7 years ago. They run workforce development programs, entrepreneur support organizations, ESOs. They connect industry with Main Street opportunity and host sessions like this where folks can come in and talk and just really build community around entrepreneurship. And so the Innovation District is going to have 30,000 feet in this first phase so that we can make sure that as jobs and technology grow, that our community has access to them. What else, man? I mean, we've got, last but not least, solar microgrid, okay? So people can't afford anything. You've paid your rent. You've figured out how to get your transportation costs covered. And then what's the next bill? That utility bill, right? Mm-hmm. We know that people just hate that BPU bill. And listen, it is hard to run a utility. I got friends at BPU. It is hard because their costs are constantly going up. Mm-hmm. And I think, again, as your next U.S. Senator, we are going to work on policies that make sure that utilities can function and work for the people and not work for corporate profits and not work for data centers and other things that might extract from community at the risk of increasing your costs. But there's a lot of fine folks at BPU that are working hard to keep the lights on, literally, but the residents still hate that bill. And I get both sides of that argument. Well, guess what? We're going to build a solar microgrid. So that 30 acres that's unusable, we are going to build a 20 megawatt solar array that has enough power to power all of this development that we've built. The term in kind of energy nerd like I am is net zero. So the project will be sustainable on its own energy. So our residents will not have an electric bill.
That's nice.
Right? So this is the kind of thing I think about. So let's go to all right, Eric, so what's happening? It's been a year. What's happening? What I just described to you, does that sound easy or does that sound hard?
That's a loaded question.
Okay.
Because it sounds easy on some ends and it sounds hard on some ends.
Okay,
so.
Tell me about it. What part is easy? What part is hard, do you think?
So it sounds like easy enough to where you got the people situated, you got everything you want, you got the division. So that part looks like you kind of know what you want, you know what you're doing, you got the steps in, you got the people behind it, you got development. So that sounds like the easy part.
That's right.
The hard part is, I'm just guessing, is now we gotta do it. Yeah. And then it's not just you, it's other people are involved now. So I'm taking it. That's the hard part.
That's the hard part. Yeah. So I appreciate that. And so that's where we're at. You know the saying, Rome was not built in a day. We are not going to solve for a 20-year, hole in the ground with sinking geotechnical condition over here, environmental condition there. That is just not going to be solved overnight. I do think that it could move quicker. I want it to move quicker. But to your point, the hard part has been finding that alignment with our unified government, right? And so I have laid out a vision, and a lot of folks have said, one of the things that we lack, particularly on the east side of this community, is a vision. I just laid out a grand vision. It is going to take time. First thing we had to do was interact with the community and make sure that the community understood and liked the vision. And we've done that. We've had dozens of community meetings. The amount of support that we've gotten in our community, Mike, as you know, has been fantastic. So the community had to understand it, but then you still got to go to the government, and the government has to understand it. So we have been working hard with Greg Kendall, with County Administrator David Johnston, and with staff to really make sure that we're on the same page and we're communicating effectively about what it is that we want to do, what it is that the community is asking us to do and where there's alignment there, and what we need from our government to help. Listen, man, I mean, nobody's going to be surprised about this next statement. Development west of 435 has been largely much easier and much more successful in Wyandotte County. We got the Legends, we got the Speedway, we got sporting. Now we're talking about a stadium, Buc-ee's, we got everything you need. So our government is clearly functional. When it wants to get deals done, it's able to get deals done. But there just has not been an intentionality around serving everyone. There's not been an intentionality around reinvesting in the Indian Springs site, in the downtown, right? I mean, you talk about it all the time. There should be 10 businesses open alongside of you in this corridor, but there's still vacant buildings around. Our government at some point is going to have to be intentional about saying we are going to make downtown successful.
Sure.
We are going to make Quindaro successful. And yes, in my case, we are going to make Indian Springs or Midtown Station successful. And honestly, man, that's been the hardest part, is finding that balance between, and people inherently want to do what is easy and what is proven, and developing out at the Legends is now easy and proven, and developing in the downtown or the Midtown or Quindaro is hard. And until we get leaders that are willing to recognize that and meet us where we need to be, I think it's going to be a struggle. But you know me, I'm an eternal optimist. So let me turn that frown upside down. What has been hard, I think, is going to start to get easier. Here's why. Elections matter. We just had an election. We've got 4/10 of our commission has now turned over. We've got a new mayor. And so there are new people in a few of these seats. So we've already had a number of allies on our legacy commission. Now we've got even more allies and locally minded folks, right? Dr. Pacheco grew up here, said, I want to see the East Side succeed. Jermaine Howard grew up here. I want to see the East Side succeed. All of these candidates have run on that platform. Now, we've also talked about this. A lot of folks have been saying that for a long time.
Sure.
It is now on them to do it. But I think that if you look at how things are trending in Wyandotte County, you see voter turnout, while still low, is improving. Engagement from local young leaders like Jermaine Howard, who grew up in this community, who said, you know what, I'm going to do this and I'm going to fight for it. That's progress, right? Jacob Handy, we talked about progress, that young folks are really trying to get involved in this process. And I think Mayor Watson did a really smart thing. In her first day in office, she called everybody onto the stage and she said, listen, I want everybody to come up here with me and let's hug it out. Like, we are going to figure this out together. And that amount of unity is what Wyandotte County needs. I don't think it's going to be as easy as that hug on the first day, but the fact that you now have people in those seats with a genuine care, you have people in those seats thinking about bringing everybody together. The sooner that we unite, the sooner we can go get stuff done. Chaos is bad. Fighting is bad. Turbulence. It is time for us to lock arms as Wyandotte Countyans and demand better. And we now have, I think, a government and folks that want to be a part of that. And so, I'm optimistic that in the next couple of months, and there's some timing reasons why we have to get this done quickly. So the narrative that we're dragging our feet or we're slow is false. We are pushing as hard as we can, understanding those realities of the fact that a development of this magnitude takes time. So anybody who thought it was going to get done in a year, shame on me for not explaining that better.
Yeah.
What the Merck took 8 years and still didn't work out. The community college, which I think is going to be great community infrastructure, took 7 years. This stuff takes time, but in an environment where people can't afford anything, we need more housing and we're criminalizing homelessness. We need more residents to come to more great small businesses like yours. There's a book by Martin Luther King. It's called Why We Can't Wait. So I certainly understand the community saying, Erik, let's go. Erik, let's go. I feel that pressure. I'm with the community on this. I think we need to hustle this along, but we also have to be, cognizant of the realities that government, especially the unified government, especially on the east side of this town, kind of moves at its own speed. And again, I'm hopeful that is starting to change. and that we're going to have some progress here very soon. So
are you just with the going back to the project and
yep.
Like, are you just waiting for the UG to come to the table and work with you on things? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah. So we're in the weeds on 3 things now. The next step is that we needed to sign a development agreement. So we went through a years-long RFP process, took way too long, but at the end of that process, because we had submitted 300 pages of everything from financing commitments to plans, so all of that process is already done and we were selected. Once you get selected, you have to go negotiate a development agreement. So just like, here's another good reference point. What did Tim McKee and Olathe say? They just announced the Chiefs deal, but he said, we've been under NDA for 2 years. So there was things going on to negotiate that development agreement between the state and the Chiefs. They've been working on that behind the scenes for 2 years. So in a roundabout way, we're kind of in that phase now. We know what we want to do at Indian Springs. They've selected us and they know that we're coming, but now you got to figure out the development agreement. 3 issues. Number 1, the price of the land. At the time the RFP process was done, everybody who was in that process, and I challenge anybody who thinks differently, please let me know, was told that land was going to be free. We understand that it's sinking. We understand that there's environmental issues. We understand that it's been vacant for 20 years. More importantly, we understand that the community wants to see aligned development. The community wants housing and retail. There are folks that would pay a fortune for that land for a data center. The community said, we don't want a data center. There are people that would pay a small fortune for that land for an industrial truck yard. The community said, we don't want an industrial truck yard. So there was understanding in our government 2 years ago that the land would be free. Today, we have a new economic development director, a new county administrator, and there's no other way to put it. In business, the term is retrade. They are now saying, well, Eric, we had the property appraised and we want you to pay $6 million for it. So wait a second, where did $6 million come from with this appraisal? All right, let me see the appraisal. It says right here, does not factor environmental condition. So this land might be worth $6 million if there wasn't Montgomery Ward's fuel tanks still buried in the ground that I'm working with Alyssa Marcy and the EPA and the Brownfield people. We're trying to strategize to go find those things. So the first issue is the land price. We were told it was free. We were retraded to $6 million. We want to be fair to our community and to the process. And so the best data point that we have is Scavuzzo Meat was supposed to build a plant there prior to our project. The UG was going to sell that land to them for $1.05 million back in 2019. I certainly don't feel like the land has gotten any more valuable since that time, certainly not 6 times as much. So where we have tried to compromise with the UG is we'll pay $1 million. You were going to sell it to Scavuzzo's for $1 million. You told us it was free. We'll pay you $1 million for it. That is issue number 1. Issue number 2 is a negotiation that has to occur with Wyandotte Economic Development about the incentives, right? And incentives is a 4-letter word because historically, and I get it, residents in our community are fed up with incentives because incentives have gone where? They've gone to one place, to one type of project. Those incentives haven't been used to build housing. Those incentives haven't been used to uplift small businesses. Those incentives have been used to create something amazing. The number 1 tourist district in the state is right here in our hometown. Yeah. So I would argue that the early use of those incentives to get the ball rolling in Wyandotte County was brilliant. But now that economy is rolling, we don't need to give the same incentive to the area that's already booming. Can we use some of those incentives downtown? Can we use some of those incentives at Indian Springs? That is the argument that I'm having with Wyandotte EDC. So Greg Kendall and I have been talking about how do we align so the same incentives that you're willing to give the Chiefs, right, are available in part to our project. Now, as somebody who grew up here, I don't have the audacity to ask for 100% of anything. Our community needs resources. Our schools have to get funded. Our streets have to get paved. So we have proposed a 25% payment to the UG. So as opposed to abating 100% of the property taxes, we're saying we need 75% of that to be reinvested into the project to make it affordable, to make the numbers work. But we want to, from day one, pay you 25%. So unlike the Chiefs and unlike others who are saying, we want it all and we want it now, I'm saying, listen, I need your help, but I want to do our part as a member of this community. And we think that the number that makes the numbers work to get it built, but that also respects that the community needs revenue, is that we pay 25%. Greg Kendall is starting to come around to that, but it took a while. And I want to thank my partner. Again, this is we, not me. So Jonathan Arnold had a real nice epiphany as he was explaining this to Greg. And he said, well, Greg, you think about the Legends, right? And the Legends has economic drivers over here. You've got an attraction by way of NASCAR or sporting. That's on one side. Then over here in the middle, you've got the retail. You've got the Legends. And then on the other side of that, you've got a hotel. And then down the street from that, you've got Legends 267. So you've got housing. So on Legends is about 1,000 acres that has all of these different ingredients. Greg, think about us at Midtown Station. We're doing the same thing, but instead of spreading it out over 1,000 acres,
scale.
We're putting it very dense on top of each other. We're doing in 100 acres what it took them 1,000 to do. And I will give Jonathan credit because, man, Greg and I were butting heads, and Jonathan and Greg was like, oh, you're right. This is basically a vertical Legends. And so once he started to understand that, we are making progress. I tell Greg Kendall that we fight like brothers. I love him some days. I don't love him some days. But back to the point, we need to work together to get this done. And that is issue number 2. And then issue number 3, this is where, kind of government malaise makes things interesting. Part of the reason I'm running for the United States Senate is that I was awarded this project in November of 2024, right? What else happened in November of 2024? Presidential election,
Yep.
okay? So there was one set of rules. Remember what I said? Chaos is bad for business, and turbulence is bad for business. Business owners want steady, predictable. You can make investment decisions. You can make business decisions when you know the rules of the game. When the rules are constantly changing and everybody's fighting, bad for business. You have to remember, we designed the capital stack for this project under a very different federal policy administration than we have today. Understanding, like I do, Mike, like we've talked about, that you cannot put a project like this on the back of Wyandotte County residents. Wyandotte County taxpayers are saying no more, no mas, we cannot do this anymore. So I had to come up with ways to use federal policy. There are tax credit, investment tax credits, there are housing tax credits, there are clean energy tax credits. All of these are federal policies that cost the UG nothing. We just either have to sign a document in the case of a low-income housing tax credit. I just need a signature from the unified government that lets me go to the federal government and get a housing tax credit. I couldn't get that signature. Our government was so broken and so chaotic for a while that there was a lack of leadership that would actually sign that. That was issue number 1. Then you think about, okay, well, what else is part of that capital stack? You're building a solar microgrid so that people don't have a BPU bill. Well, guess what? The old president was like, I'm all in on that. The new president was like, to hell with that. So in that environment, here we are just trying to get a project done for Wyandotte County to reduce our BPU bill, and things that are happening in Washington are affecting our lives here. And so I think that is the last part. Anytime we're going to bake a $900 million cake, I need all of the tools. And at a federal level, those tools were changing. I think the UG has some accountability, and at some point, I've asked County Administrator David Johnston to be accountable for just the economic reality that during the prior federal policy administration, there was money available for communities like ours that we just didn't go get. And I don't use that universally. There's some great small examples. Angel Ferrara in Parks has done a hell of a job getting $1 million here and there to go redo our parks. I think that's functional. Desiree Bush in Transportation has done a hell of a job with a limited budget to get some great things going in transportation. So I don't say this to throw stones at all of our government. Individually, there are some great people working their ass off to do great things. But at a high level, the chaos and the fighting and the changing is bad. And so I want to bring a practical business sense, a practical community sense to all of this. And so that last piece, that third piece, is that we had to understand in that changing administration locally right? Which meant who's going to sign my grant application? Who's going to sign my housing tax credit application? But also federally, what is going to be the policies of this new administration if half my tools are gone? So there's one very important thing that I want to leave our community with. If nothing else, we hosted a community summit.
That's what my next question was.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. Let me actually pause, take a deep breath, take a sip of coffee, kick it back over to you. But I want our community to take away one important thing that you might be already ahead of me. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, man. Because I was just going to get to because you had the East Side Initiative that was a couple months ago, and that was great. You brought local developers in and outside developers, and you brought local leaders in, and we talked about changing down east, like down here, downtown, things we could do, things to look forward to, and like how we can all work together. And I thought that was really dope that you did that.
I appreciate that, man. And it was well attended. We had give or take 300 people in that room, but we need to keep spreading that word because we rented out Memorial Hall, which has a capacity of 3,000. Yeah. And so when we continue to grow that, I want us to spread the word and get more community members in that room. But yeah, man, I realized that there was an information gap and that our residents were not even aware of all of these different tools and resources that are available. And I think, again, I hate to make this back to self-serving. Vote for me, donate to me. I'm running for the U.S. Senate. But my understanding of these things is what is helping me get Indian Springs done, is helping me get the airport done. But more importantly than any one project, I'm using these tools to fix places that I love. I love Wyandotte County, and I don't want to see the level of disparity that we have in half of this county. I love the state of Kansas, and I don't want to see the disparity that we have. But I realized that I had all these policy ideas, and I had an understanding of this. But at a fundamental level, our community had just never been provided access to that information. And when I would go into the Northeast, and I'd go into some of our neighborhoods, and I'd say, why aren't we more politically active? Why don't we use these resources and demand better from our government? First off, people were like, listen, nobody from our government has been here to see us, has been here to love us and care about us, for 20, 30 years now. And I'm talking more at a federal level. Obviously, we've got local leaders in town. But I realized, well, that's a disconnect. So people had gotten apathetic about information and process. So our Eastside Community Summit was to, first off, bring people together in community. Let's just have a safe place for us to come and talk about these issues. Secondly, was unity. How do we unite around common goals? And lastly was leadership. How do we understand why leadership matters and what we need to ask our leaders? So that's where I was going with that last comment. And if people don't take anything away from this, being the community advocate that I am, there is one important policy lever left. The chamber. I love Renee Hadley right up the street. Renee, lives in Strawberry Hill, loves our downtown. God bless the work that she's trying to do with the chamber, the little engine that could, because they have way less resources than WYDEC, but they are frankly way more aligned with our community and what is happening. So the chamber set a policy around opportunity zones. So remember, that summit is East Side Opportunity. Opportunity is a double entendre. We think about opportunity, access, in a traditional sense. When I say opportunity, I mean a very specific federal policy called opportunity zones. The KCK Chamber, through our advocacy, alongside Eastside and others, is saying we need the state to make as much of Wyandotte County an opportunity zone as possible. And I'll explain what that means in a minute. I went to Greg Kendall, said the same thing. Hey, Greg, let's talk about opportunities. Eric, we don't need opportunity zones. We're using this and that and the other. Greg, I hate to tell you, I think you're wrong. In a federal policy environment where tools are being taken away from communities like ours, this federal government posture, let's call it what it is. This is a war on poverty. This is a government where rich people are getting richer and poor people are getting poorer and the middle class is being wiped out. We have got to use the one tool that is left in the one big, whether you call it the big beautiful bill, the big ugly bill. The federal bill has a thing in it called opportunity zones that is intended to drive investment into low to moderate income areas. Well, guess what qualifies as a low to moderate income area? Downtown, Northeast, Quindaro, Midtown. The Legends doesn't qualify. So I understand why Greg Kendall doesn't care about it because it's not where he's focused. Greg's going to be mad at me after this. I love you, Greg. We fight like brothers, like I said. But I needed to take that message directly to the people, Mike, because when our leaders are not signing up for federal grants, our leaders are not signing up for opportunity zones, and here I am just trying to get shit done in Wyandotte County, and the one tool that's left is an opportunity zone. So, okay, what is an opportunity zone? In President Trump's first administration, President Trump loves real estate, hates taxes, loves money. Right? He's a whole bunch of other things, but those three things I'm pretty certain of. He created a policy that incentivized investors putting money into real estate in a way that was tax efficient. So this program means if you go into a low income area and you take money out of stocks, bonds, any other asset class, so you've made money anywhere else and you bring it into a real estate deal and you bring it into that deal in a low income area, you can get tax breaks, okay? So rich guys love real estate and hate taxes. So this is a way that we could get money into the downtown, into the Quindaro, into the Midtown. So President Trump put that policy in effect in his first term in office. Then the president changes. Again, chaos is bad. You know, irregardless of which side you're on, chaos is bad. So then a new administration comes in, says we don't like that program, so it dies for 4 years. Then President Trump comes back in office and doubles down on the program. So that program, opportunity zones, Google opportunity zones, learn about opportunity zones. That program is now permanently part of the tax code. The administration then kicked it to the states and said, I have created an incentive policy that states can use to drive capital into whatever they want, whatever low to moderate income neighborhoods they want. There are 212 eligible neighborhoods or census tracts is the destination. There are 212 eligible census tracts in the entire state of Kansas. The governor gets to pick 53, give or take, of those. So about 25% of the eligible areas, Mike, are going to be anointed. So sadly, 75% of the people are going to get left out of this program. And sadly for Wyandotte County, somehow we always end up in that 75% that just got left out and left behind. And so I am advocating at a local level through Eastside Opportunity to make sure that our community knows that we can leverage policy to get shit done in Wyandotte County by way of opportunity zones. And so the deal that I would go cut, you know, we talked about the fact that the Chiefs, I think the Chiefs are coming whether we like it or not. It is now incumbent on our local leadership, and I'm glad that Crystal Watson said it. She said, we've got to find a world where this works for everybody. We all love the Chiefs, and we all love economic development, but we don't love it more than taking care of our own residents, taking care of our own business owners and taxpayers. There's a world where everybody wins. I mean, this is, my general thesis is like, let's just get to an economy. There's no problem with rich people making money. It just shouldn't come at the expense of so much greed that you're going to let people starve. You're going to take their health care away. You're going to overtax them out of their home. So I do like what I've heard from Mayor Watson is we love the Chiefs. We welcome you to Kansas because we're a pro-business place to be, but we also love these residents, and we got to find a way to make sure that it works for our community at the same time that it works for Clark Hunt. Opportunity zones are kind of another example of that. We can use a federal policy that costs our community nothing to drive investment here, but we need to go advocate for it. So in the first Trump administration, a handful of neighborhoods were anointed opportunity zones. Indian Springs is already in an opportunity zone. So what I'm saying is not even selfish, right? I got mine, but I'm not a guy who cares about getting mine alone, Mike. I want you to get yours. I want everybody in Wyandotte County. And then as I'm the senator, I want everybody in this great state to have a wonderful quality of life like I enjoy. And I want everybody to have access to that. So this is not even about Indian Springs. The Midtown, the downtown, Quindaro was entirely left out. There is not a lower income, more deserving area of our community than Quindaro. But when I go to the decision makers, they say, well, Erik, there's no projects in Quindaro. There's no developers in Quindaro. So we would be wasting a slot to make that an opportunity zone. That's wrong. Mike, there are I know a dozen small business owners. I know a dozen Mike Simmonses. I could point them out to you that are trying to build housing, that are trying to open a coffee shop, that are trying to open a grocery store, right? There are plenty of folks who want to do this, and our government policy hasn't really been for everyone. So our Opportunity Summit was to educate folks on all of that kind of universe. So I appreciate you coming and talking about that and what you're doing as a small business owner. Remember Nakia Hope, Olivia Moore, Bell Crossing Farm, Amy Strother. Those three ladies are doing some dope stuff in the Quindaro neighborhood around farming and hospitality and tourism and equestrian. There are so many brilliant young people in Wyandotte County wanting to do amazing things, and we just need government policies to create that opportunity for us. So the deal that I would go cut, I said this to Frank and Crystal and that whole team, is I think the Chiefs are coming. What can we get out of it from Wyandotte County? And the governor's office has the ultimate decision on what are opportunity zones. I think that there are 10 eligible census tracts in Wyandotte County that cover not only Indian Springs, not only the core of downtown, but downtown actually falls in 3 different census tracts. So like Big 11 Lake. My dad grew up on Big 11 Lake. I personally think that Big 11 Lake could be epic, right? When I was in Oakland, California, we did a development around Lake Merritt that really turned that area from blighted 20 years ago to, with investment and with ideas and with third spaces, we created a community fabric that was really just dope there. So I think Big 11 Lake could also be another node, but it's a separate census tract. So Quindaro, there's 2 or 3 census tracts. I think that the negotiation, Mike, could be, all right, state, you cut this deal with the Chiefs. What can the state do for Wyandotte County, among other things? I'm asking Governor Kelly every day, let's make as much of Wyandotte County an opportunity zone as possible so that folks like me, so that folks like you, so that we can encourage developers, we can encourage business owners, we can encourage community to leverage that policy to get investment. Because otherwise, there's just no other tools left, man. We can't tax people anymore. We can't rely on the UG's budget to save us. We are going to have to use all these creative tools, and I wanted to educate our community on those tools. So that would be the ask. I know that the entire state is only going to get about 53 opportunity zones, but if in fact the state is asking Wyandotte County to make that big of an investment, what do we get in return? And I think getting 10 of those 53 opportunity zones right here so we can rebuild downtown, we can rebuild Big 11 Lake, we can rebuild Quindaro, and we can rebuild Midtown. That's how the East Side is going to win. So again, I feel bad because I probably lost half your audience because I get into these like topics where I'm just nerding out on shit. But it's that level of passion and energy plus an understanding of these things. I mean, that is why I'm asking people to think about voting for me. I'm not just passionate, making up shit. I know how to do what I'm trying to do, but I also see right where the roadblocks and issues are, and I just need us to advocate for the stuff that we want and advocate for the leaders that we want, right? And I hope that I'm that leader.
Yeah. So on the lines of that of voting for you, since we're at the tail end of the podcast.
Yeah, my bad, man. I get long-winded.
No, I don't mind.
Let's do the 101st one too. Let's just keep it going.
So why should someone vote for you?
Yeah. First off, because I care. And it is sad to me the amount of decisions that are being made, particularly in Washington. I'm running for a federal office, right? Yeah. They just they're not rooted in love. They're not rooted in care. They seem rooted in greed. And so first off, I care and I want to unite all people. This is not about just Wyandotte County or just this, everybody wants us to fight. And at our core, we need to get back to loving each other and less fighting. And so I want to take that love and that care to Washington. That's number one. Number two, well, great, Eric, you're passionate about it and you love people. Do you know how to get anything done? As I just described to you, I have a very specific vision of what needs to happen to drive investment all across this state. In every single one of the 105 counties, there are things happening in Washington that are hurting all businesses and small businesses, like tariffs. Tariffs are a tax let's just keep it real, right? So I understand the policy, and I bring an understanding of Main Street. I bring an understanding of local community issues. I bring a passion and a love, but I also have a nerd level understanding of these policies. And so I know how to get done the solutions that people need in community. And I think that's the last part. I'm a proven problem solver, right? I'm not rich. I'm not poor. I'm not this. I'm not that. My mom said, son, you're going to have to work your ass off. You're going to have to get an education, and you're going to have to go and use it. And I was taught critical thinking at an early age. And the best thing that I've done is just seen problems and come up with solutions, right? Mm-hmm. And I think I'm just so frustrated that our leaders in Washington seem to be running away from problems and running away from communities and running away like, oh, we're just going to hide and act like Quindaro doesn't exist. Or even worse, we're going to say that we love Quindaro, but we're not going to invest in it. So I have a love, I have an understanding of policy, and I have a problem-solving background. And I think those three things are missing in Washington. And I'm excited to go and be that advocate for all Kansans and for all Americans to get our economy working again, to get healthcare working again in this country, to get education working again in this country. We can stop there. Those three basic things, 90% of Kansans and Americans agree on, right? Mm-hmm. You need an education, you need healthcare, and you need access to a job or access to an economy that is helping a small business owner. And so right now, that game feels a little rigged in Washington, and I want to go there with those three things, with love, with ideas, and with problem-solving solutions. They're going to benefit all of us, man. So, yeah, man, I'm excited.
Yeah, well, thanks for coming on, man.
No doubt. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Hey, before we end, tell people how they can find you, like your website, when they can vote, and
yep.
Yeah.
I love that. So, yeah, going back again, I'm giving Jermaine a lot of love. We, not me. I told him, I'm like, brother, that should be our entire campaign slogan for everything. We, not me. So credit to Jermaine, but it's not about finding me. It's really about finding access to all this information. So appreciate you bringing up the summit. Mm-hmm. Go check out eastsideopportunity.org. All of what we talked about is there. My team is there, and you can really plug in with our Eastside Opportunity Ventures. Community is found there, eastsideopportunity.org. Beyond that, on the real estate development side, eastsideinnovation.com, midtown-station.com tells you about Indian Springs. Sign up there to get information on those projects. And then, yeah, if after all of that, you're still trying to find me, very nice of you.
People want to vote for you. Yeah.
Perfect. All right, Erik Murray for Kansas on Facebook. ERIK for Kansas. The K is for Kansas, man. ErikForKansas.com. You sign up to volunteer, sign up to donate. On Instagram, I love my Instagram handle. Not impossible, but it's spelled E-M, Erik Murray, not E-M possible. Because I think that, again, if we work together, we can solve this shit. So not impossible is where you find me on Insta. So, yeah.
Cool, man. I appreciate it, man. It's been great.
100th episode, man.
100th episode, yeah.
And I feel bad though. You might not have gotten 100 words in on your own. Next time, I gotta take a chill pill. But I'm excited.
It makes it easier on me. So trust me.
All right,
I'm good
all
with
right.
this.
Well, good, man. I appreciate you. I hope I get invited back.
Yeah, of course,
when I'm in the U.S. Senate, brother.
Yeah,
we'll come back and have this conversation a year from now.
Yeah, and I hope the best for you, man, and good luck to you on the journey ahead, man. So
yeah,
if you need anything, man, just give me a holler.
No, I appreciate it. Right here at the shop, man. This is where community is built. We need these kinds of third spaces. So I appreciate you, brother.
I appreciate you, man. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and thank you guys for tuning in. Like I said, like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Make sure you follow us on all social media platforms at Strawberry Hill Podcast. And thank you guys once again. We made it to 100 episodes, and here's to 100 more. We're out.
We're not out. 1 second. All right.
No,
we're really quick. So, Mike, 100th episode. Just want to hand you this.
I told you I didn't want nothing.
Wow.
No. Is this? Are we live?
This is
not live, but
NSPN's official 100th episode award that you're getting. I just want to say, as you know, Mike, I just want your audience to know, Mike single-handedly kept NSPN alive. And
don't say that.
No, I'm saying that with 100% thankfulness and gratitude, because you came in at a moment where we needed a space, we needed more attention, and you helped bring all of the things we needed, and allowed us to come into your shop and basically set up studio everywhere and anywhere we needed to. So from us to you, just want to say we really, really appreciate you.
Well, I appreciate that.
Congrats
Thank
on
you
the
guys.
100 episodes.
Yeah, thank you. You guys tuned in.
It's dope.
Yeah, Eastside trying to make me cry over here, man. F you. Yeah, thank you. And get me off of TV or get me off the screen before I start crying.
Oh, man, that's
Yeah.
dope, man.